following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Welcome into a Wednesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao alongside Mo Patton, and it is a beautiful day outside, as you can see behind me. It really is pretty, though. What a beautiful day. It's going to be mid-70s and sunny all day long. It's just too bad that we don't have any outdoor sports to cover today, Mo.
Yeah, it really is. You know, we talked about this last Friday, the first weekend of the state playoffs, and how nice the weather was and how we didn't think it was going to last, but it certainly has to this point. And I don't know what it's supposed to do. Well, it's supposed to get a little cooler by the end of the week. High of 68 on Friday, but so whatever that means for Friday night is what that means. But
yeah,
you know, we'd take this for sure.
No question. No question. It's a good day. It's Women Wednesday again, Mo. Not only is it wild and wacky, but we get to talk to two of our favorite women in sports, and that is Teresa Walker and Heather Williams. Heather's going to join us at 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock her time, and talk a little NASCAR as the season ended on Sunday. Unfortunately, didn't quite get the result that we were hoping for, but not a bad showing from our friends at Trackhouse Racing. But we'll talk about that. We'll also, I don't know how much Heather can get into it, but I do want to get her thoughts on the news that it appears that NASCAR's Cup race will be coming back to the Nashville Fairgrounds at least every other year, starting very soon, according to our friend Joe Williams at the Williamson Herald. Yeah,
we may need to reach out to our local racing expert on this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about that at some point in the near future once that's approved. And we'll also, Teresa's a bevy of knowledge, so who knows what we'll talk to you about with her.
I'm
probably
sure
everything.
We'll probably talk a little Titans, and we may talk a little Peretz as well. So
do we have to? Oh, dear.
No, we don't have to. We certainly
we might
don't
have to mention John Morant's technical foul, though. plenty of cool stuff to talk to. Again, she covers it all, so she's got a ton of knowledge. Whatever we get into, you're going to learn something just like we will. We've also got college football playoff reactions. They'll be coming your way here very shortly as we react to not just the top four, but the rest of the rankings. And
yeah, we may need to react to number 5 a little bit.
Well, yeah. We'll talk about the TSSAA. They put out the initial region and district alignments yesterday. And so if you're wondering where your favorite high school team may end up playing in the next 2 years, we can help you. We'll go through all of those as well. So plenty to get to on this show. We've got a lot to get to first, so we might as well jump right in with some results and schedule on today's rundown.
This is the rundown.
In NHL action on Tuesday night, the Preds continued their road trip and continued to struggle with a 5-1 loss at the Seattle Kraken. College football action last night, Eastern Michigan with a 34-28 win over Akron. Ohio downed Miami of Ohio 37-21, and it was Toledo 28, Ball State 21. Also in Ohio in women's basketball action, University of Tennessee blew a 8-point halftime lead and fell 87-75 at Ohio State. That was number 5 Tennessee, number 14 Ohio State. The Lady Buckeyes getting the win.
In NBA action tonight at 7 o'clock on Bally Sports Southeast, you can catch the Grizzlies there in San Antonio to take on the Spurs. Women's basketball tonight at Curb Event Center. You can check out the Belmont Lady Bruins ahead of our conversation with their head coach tomorrow. So I guess we'll get some immediate reaction from that as as they're coming off a game tonight against Chattanooga. That's a 6:30 tip on ESPN Plus. In junior college action tonight, Southwest Tennessee is at Vol State, and that's a 6:30 tip. And Columbia State is over in Jackson, taking on Jackson State at 6:30.
Men's basketball action tonight. Lipscomb goes to South Dakota. That's a 7 o'clock start on ESPN Plus. In junior college action tonight, Columbia State is at Jackson State. That's going to start after the women's game, about 8:30. And also at Vol State, the Pioneers will take on Southwest Tennessee at about 8:30. College football action tonight. More action. Northern Illinois at Western Michigan. That's a 6 o'clock kick on ESPNU. Also at 6 o'clock on ESPN2, Buffalo is at Central Michigan, and at 6 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, Kent State is at Bowling Green. That is your rundown.
Mo, our top story today coming from the coaching ranks, got a couple of them. Number one, Jacques Vaughn is no longer the interim coach for the Brooklyn Nets. They have named a permanent head coach, and that head coach is Jacques Vaughn.
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
That's right. So I guess that's it's interesting considering that when this move initially happened with the firing of Steve Nash, that it appeared that Boston Celtics Ime Udoka was going to be taking over that spot, and instead it is Vaughn, or JV as they call him.
JV, okay, all right, not to be confused with John Varlas,
right,
of the Daily Memphian, but I think that's probably the safe bet for the Nets because obviously Udoka
they've got other things going
baggage.
On. Yeah. Well, Udoka comes with some baggage. They've got some baggage of their own right now. They don't really need any more.
Yeah, the less they can take on and the quicker they can get out of the public eye, probably the better it is for Brooklyn. So yeah, this is probably a good call, even if it's interim, not interim. I mean, who knows how long, Chuck? Everybody's interim, whether they got the title or not. So
that's true.
Maybe he makes it for some period of time. Maybe he gets them through the end of the season. But according to the team's press release and Brooklyn general manager Sean Marks, Jock's basketball acumen, competitiveness, and intimate knowledge of our team and organization make him the clear-cut best person to lead our group moving forward. He has a proven ability to get the best out of our players, hold them accountable, and play a cohesive team-first style of basketball. It's a shame they didn't figure that out a week ago.
That's exactly. I mean, that's what's crazy is I don't know what you're doing otherwise if you're the Nets, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a guy who's been your interim now twice and has been pretty good. He wasn't great with the Magic, but it's not like the Magic were anything had a lot of talent on the roster in 2012 to 15. So, yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's been there.
Mm-hmm.
He's been on the staff, so he knows this. He knows the personnel well enough. And if you're in the business of trying to win a championship immediately, or at least be in the running for a championship, you don't need to be messing around with interim coaches. You don't need to be messing around hiring a guy in the middle of the season who you think is going to be your head coach going forward. The best thing to do is kind of steady the ship, right?
Yeah, and I would think that would be the goal of Brooklyn right now is steadying the ship with as little upheaval as possible. I mean, the idea of bringing in a new coach, 10 games in or whatever you are, and him having to get to know everybody and everybody getting to know him and that kind of thing. I mean, the least amount of upheaval, I would think. Continuity is kind of the word I was looking for, but trying to establish some continuity and JV helps you with that. So let's go, you would think.
One would think. Also, in other coaching news, Houston Astros and Dusty Baker announced a 1-year contract between the two. Dusty Baker told MLB.com's Brian McTaggart on Tuesday, quote, "I always said if I win one, I want two." So I guess, hey, once you win that first, you get a little greedy, right, Mo?
Well, I mean, if some is good, more is better, right? So yeah, I'm not mad at Dusty at all. I never felt like this was his swan song anyway. And how do you walk away from a team that won 106 games in the regular season? Now, whether they bring that team back is going to be, certainly up for debate. But I think as long as Dusty is in place, talking about continuity, he's going to give you a chance, particularly in the AL West.
Yeah, it's not very good. He obviously has had a 25-year career in the dugout and the only manager to guide 5 franchises to the playoffs: the Giants, the Cubs, the Reds, the Nationals, and, of course, the Astros. 3-time recipient of Manager of the Year award, and I think he is a finalist for this year's award. Am I correct?
Yeah, I would certainly think so. And he's one of
based on the NL finalists, my guess is that he's one of the AL finalists.
Yeah, since all 3 of them won 100 games. One of the few, and I don't know how many exactly, but one of the few individuals who has won a World Series as both a player and as a manager.
That's correct. That's the 1981 Dodgers.
Yeah. I was probably rooting against them at that time.
Most likely you were. I wouldn't put it past you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are our top stories today. Pretty good news for some coaches. Maybe not great news for Ime Udoka. But I guess he probably had an idea it was coming.
Yeah, I can't imagine he was terribly surprised by that development when all was said and done.
Oh man, well, we're going to take our first break of the day again. Teresa Walker coming your way here momentarily. College football rankings still ahead, as well as high school football and other sports, basketball, baseball, softball, etc. alignments. Wild and Wacky Wednesday and Heather Williams all coming your way shortly right here on Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton here on this Wild and Wacky Wednesday. We are getting ready for a wild weekend and week of high school sports, as 32 teams remain in each classification in the in Division I, Mo. That's right. Yeah, 32.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's gonna. If you've made it this far, you're a pretty good football team. And Friday nights, when the rubber meets the road, and it gets really, really interesting from that point on.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get the link to Ms. Walker.
There she is. She's in.
Oh, is she in? Oh, good. Good. Okay.
Yeah. So again, it's going to be a great weekend of high school football, and looking forward to very much excitement this week. So I'm telling you, man, this is the best time of year. It's the most wonderful time of the year. That's what I say. But now we talk about everything but high school, just about. And I'm sure if we asked her, she could probably give us a little insight into some high school sports too. But we have TERESA Walker joining us.
She could give us a little something. We could probably ask her a little bit about Maryville in particular, but we'll stay away from that for now.
That's a painful subject this year. The Maryville Rebels have lost a couple of games so we won't go down that path. Okay.
A couple of games. Listen to her. They're upset over losing a couple of games over in Maryville.
It may be 3, so it is very painful.
Is that us or her?
She's back.
Okay.
I'm back. What can I say? I'm doing it on the phone, and I don't have my phone connected to the Wi-Fi that I'm using in the AP Bureau today. So
I was going to ask you where you were.
Yeah,
we see the AP photos behind you. So yeah. Nice backdrop.
Yeah, it's very cool, isn't it? Yeah, I'm very, very low. Trying to go on my hotspot here and boost the signal. We'll see if we can get you guys going better, okay?
That'll work. And in the meantime, we can. Yeah, we got you. You good?
Good deal.
Okay. TERESA, news out of St. Okay, great. News out of St. Thomas Sports Park. Traylon Burks is trending upward, I guess. And I guess that's got to be good news, right?
Yes, they activated him off of the 21 or into the 21-day practice window, right? And what that means is, they could activate him Friday, Saturday. He could play Sunday. The good thing is he had a bye in there. So, nowadays, in fact, I had a story that moved yesterday on the change in the IR rules where, last year it was unlimited players could return off of IR, and you could put, and they had to spend 3 games. Well, this year it's 8 players, so teams have to be choosy who they bring back. And the other side of that is you've got to spend 4 games. And because the Titans had their bye in that, well, guess what? He's been out essentially 5 weeks. So, hopefully he can come back because, the 31st in the NFL in passing, right? He's got 10 of their 51 catches by wide receivers. So he's got to help if he gets back on the field this week, right? And on Monday, Mike Vrabel praised. I mean, Mike Vrabel does not praise many players, but he raved about the work ethic that Traylon Burks has shown while he's been on IR. So to me, that's a good thing and a strong indication that he's going to have a chance, barring any setback before kickoff.
Well, and that's good news for Titans fans who obviously on Sunday witnessed yet again the wide receiver core failing to really get much separation from defensive backs. So So, and when you're talking about young quarterbacks and Malik Willis, and then of course, what Ryan Tannehill has to do as well. It's important. I mean, you gotta have guys who can do that.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's what Traylon Burks is. He's big, he's physical, he's fast. He was put on IR with a foot injury. And that's the thing. If he is allowed to, or activated this week, then he brings something. No offense. There's a reason why, and I know it's easy to focus on the trade of, AJ Brown to Philadelphia with the season that he's having. And he chimed in when they pointed out how much the Titans wide receivers have struggled on Sunday night. He was chiming in on social media. But the fact of the matter is, Traylon Burks is the guy you took at 18. You don't, they can talk about Cody Hollister being a great blocker in the run game, but the guy that they need, the guy that they want helping catch passes is wearing number 16, not 8. And, you get Traylon Burks out there, that might help Robert Woods have a little bit more room to work as well, because everybody knows what he can do. And he is a starter. And no offense, Nick Westbrook-Akine, but, people actually have been talking about, how bad the receivers have been. And it was really egregious on Sunday night when Malik Willis, God bless him, rookie making his second start in a row on the road. And all he does is go and put the ball on some hands that, if 2 of those balls are caught, then, maybe they come home with a win. And, Nick Westbrook-Akine, he had a defender on him. If you're an NFL receiver, you make that catch. If you're Chris Conley, I think we found why he was on the Chiefs practice squad, not their roster, when that ball hit him in his hands. So Traylon Burks being able to come back would be a massive addition, because defense and Derrick Henry can get you so far. If this team is going to do something in January, they're going to have to be more than one-dimensional.
Really felt like that Chris Conley catch that was a game changer, Teresa, to your point. So, and again, Chris and I have talked about it probably ad nauseum, but I mean, it becomes even more glaring, the deficiencies at receiver, when you've got a rookie quarterback out there trying to get you going in the right direction. You got to help him out, and they didn't.
No, I mean, Malik Willis put a perfect throw on Austin Hooper, and the veteran tight end caught it. I mean, that is the throw you want your quarterback to make. And again, he hit Chris Conley in the hands. He put the ball at Nick Westbrook-Akine's hands. That's a ball he needs to be catching. I mean, that's the thing. You're getting an NFL paycheck. He's a starter. He's been a starter for this team. Now, some of it might be a bit by default. I mean, he's an undrafted guy out of Indiana. Obviously, nobody in the NFL thought he was worth a draft pick, but he has worked hard and he has earned a job with this team. They had, Ryan Tannehill's talked about how, he knows every position on the field and he has the quarterback's trust. Well, how many, we're getting to a point where you can count on one hand, maybe almost 2 hands, the moments where Nick Westbrook-Akine has had opportunities to make big catches in big spots and not come through. I'm thinking of a play in Pittsburgh last year when the quarterback really needed him to come down with the ball, and he was a little short and missed some others. So,
didn't one of Tannehill's
out, especially when it's Malik Willis. So, and
didn't one of Tannehill's interceptions last year bounce off his hands, I think late in the season or maybe in the playoff game? So, I mean, he's had some issues.
Well, guess who was the intended receiver on the interception? Yes, the interception, the last one against Cincinnati. The intended receiver was Nick Westbrook-Akine, and yes, and that was the one that knocked them out of the playoffs. So, when if you're 20 seconds away from forcing overtime and making that game go a little bit longer, and you got the home field, and maybe you just run the ball and Yeah. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. The fact of the matter is they need better play from their wide receivers in mass. But is Ryan Tannehill this week? And second half of the season, where they've got 5 of their 9 games are at home. This is one of them. They need to start making some hay.
Teresa Walker of the Associated Press with us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Teresa, as we continue to talk about Malik Willis, what's the prognosis on Ryan Tannehill at this point? I mean, obviously it's Wednesday. Vrabel isn't going to tell us anything, but can you figure anything out? Do you expect him for Denver Sunday?
Well, I can't say anything of what I might have seen in the open portion of practice until 2:30. That's when practice ends. Ryan Tannehill talked to us. We saw him run through the locker room before practice. He had his jersey on, and he was walking well. It's walking in the locker room, going out to the practice field is not the same as trying to dodge a pass rusher coming at you on Sunday. But, that was something we had not seen, in the locker room at least. So that isn't it, which, practice ends at 2:30, but then we're waiting to do if he was able.
Yeah. That's what I'm expecting too, is is game time decision, we assume.
Well, that's what he was last week. He was on the plane to Kansas City, and he was warming up in pregame. And if it's, we're all thinking high ankle sprain, but at this point, the fact that he made the trip to Kansas City, was warming up, that is a step. And you don't put him on the plane to Kansas City if he's not close enough to at least be thinking about it, right? You can play with the NFL injury rules to a point. And, at this point, Ryan talked to us. He said he's feeling better. It was easier kind of to watch the game from the sideline than, sitting there at home watching it on TV, the Houston game. So, it sounds like he's progressing. He told us again today that this is something he's going to have to deal with for a bit. It's, so there's going to be some improvement to a point, but it's going to be something that he's going to have to be able to deal with, and mobility and the ability to hand off, move around, slide in the pocket is going to be key for a guy who his nickname is Tanny Wheels.
Yeah.
A great nickname, right? Come on.
When you have a quarterback who can make plays with his legs, you should use him, whether his name be Willis or Tanny. That's all I'm saying.
Goodness, Teresa, let me ask you. We saw all over Twitter, I guess on Monday, in the aftermath of Frank Reich's dismissal by Indianapolis, that the Titans should snap him up. Do you think there's any possibility of Reich joining forces with the Titans in a coaching capacity?
Let's see what happens during the off season. And guys, it is 2:30, and Ryan Tannehill was seen during the open portion of practice along with Traylon Burks. And I'm not going to say he was running all around the field, but he was moving gingerly. It looked like he was trying to test some things. So, I almost, for Frank Reich, man, if I've got a chance to upgrade him from Todd Downing, I'd be very tempted to have a conversation. Mike Vrabel said Monday that he knows Frank Reich. They've gotten to know each other through committees. They were both hired among the 7 coaches hired in the 2018 off season, and they know each other. He knows his wife. He was going to reach out to him on Monday and express his hey, sorry buddy, I guess. But here's the thing: what does Frank Reich want to do? Does he want to take a few months off? When guys get fired, the thing about NFL contracts, you don't really have buyouts, but they got to finish paying off whatever is left on his contract. So it's going to be interesting to see, does he take time off? Does he become a candidate for another job, or does he decide to does he go back to the OC route? So I'd be interested in talking to him, because but as long as Derrick Henry is on this team, guys, Mike Vrabel and the Titans have made it very, very clear. This is a run team, a team built to run, and a team that is built around defense. So Frank Reich, let's stay tuned. That's a little early, I think, to be thinking that road at this moment.
Teresa, before we let you go real quick, just your initial thoughts on last night's top 4, as we're about to get into it a little bit deeper here on the show.
Well, I'll say this: Tennessee is the only team that has played 5 top 25 teams, and I'm trying to even remember the Georgia-Oregon game. But here's the thing: Tennessee went to Georgia, and if a play is made here or there, and let's not forget that Hooker had been really, really good on those deep balls. Well, yeah, the defense was really good. He didn't connect on a couple of those. If he connects on one of them, we're talking a much different game in that fourth quarter. So I feel recency bias. It's like, I saw this team lose, let's drop them down. I just have a thing. It just feels that even with the schedule remaining, the Vols are going to have a chance to be in that Final Four mix when they pull the names out of the hat.
There you go. Teresa Walker, Associated Press. Follow her at Teresa M. Walker on social media and Twitter. We appreciate your time as always, man.
Sounds good. And, now I'll tweet out some of the video that I shot at practice today.
Make sure to go follow her so you can see it. All right. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, college football playoff thoughts and much more right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Stick around. This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee sports editor, 3-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSSAA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
The other guy in Wham married the best-looking girl, Bananarama, so the other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice. Oh, welcome back in. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Mo, college football playoff top 25 released last night, and we have it available to you guys here as well as available to us. In that first column over there, or I guess the last column on the right, with 19 to 25, I thought it was very interesting that Florida State and Kentucky made their way into into the rankings, Florida State specifically, they've played 3 top 25 teams this year, lost to all 3 of them in a row. And I'm not sure if it's more that they, maybe dominated Miami or whatever it was, but it just kind of seems odd that LSU's in the top 10, so Florida State makes its way and creeps into the top 25.
Well, and I think it goes back to what you've been saying all along, that win over LSU to open the season. Apparently somebody felt like, well, if LSU is this high and Florida State beat them, then they've got to be in here somewhere.
It's just interesting to me. I thought, okay, well, and I think you kind of have to help. You got to help bolster LSU's resume somewhere. Their 2 losses are, to Tennessee and to now Florida State. Of course, they've got a win over number 11 Ole Miss. But I just thought that was interesting.
And number 9
Kentucky
Alabama.
Too. Well, yeah. But and Kentucky too. I mean, I think that helps Tennessee when you look at and I try to tell people this all the time. You can say they've got 5 top 25 wins. Tennessee does not have 5 top 25 wins. Right now they have 3 because the College Football Playoff Committee could not care less about anybody else's rankings but theirs. They don't care what you think. And so now Tennessee has a win over number 7, number 9, and number 24. And I think if you don't think this committee is playing long game chess at times, you're not paying attention over the last 8 years.
Well, you're not paying attention over the last 8 years, and you're not paying attention this week because they have set this thing up for Tennessee to come back in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, they have. There's no question
by putting
about
Ohio State and Michigan in at 2 and 3, knowing that they play each other,
and neither of them. Which, granted, I think Notre Dame being at 20 helps Ohio State quite a bit. But
I don't think it helps them overcome a loss to Michigan.
Correct. But Michigan losing to Ohio State, it's dunzo, no drama necessary.
Right. And TCU goes to Austin this weekend, goes to Baylor the following weekend.
And one of those is ranked, the other not. Texas ranked number 18 in this poll. I think there's some play there. Kansas TCU was losing 28-10 to Kansas State. Okay. Kansas State's starting quarterback and backup quarterback both got hurt in that game. TCU comes back and wins 38-28. That's their only top 25 win, was against a third string quarterback after they were getting just drubbed by Adrian Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
So I find it interesting that TCU went from 7 to 4, and that's their only top 25 win.
Undefeated TCU.
Undefeated TCU. I don't have a problem with TCU being number 4. Okay. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
What I have a problem with is the consistency or lack thereof of this committee's thought process.
And that's completely and totally understandable.
You can't tell me that last week and this week are not completely different rankings. I mean, Michigan went from 5 to 3, which I mean, that happens, especially when 1 and 4 lose.
Yeah.
5 to 3 is kind of natural, but 7 to 4 doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in my opinion.
Yeah. What did TCU necessarily do to go from 7 to 4? And I mean,
well,
I don't think beating Texas Tech by 10 at TCU explains that.
Clearly, this committee does not watch any games before halftime, because Rutgers was beating Michigan and TCU was down to Texas Tech at halftime. Both of them had to come back in the second half to win. Now, obviously, Michigan came back and won rather easily, and TCU won by 10 again at home. But it is interesting. And I think that is one of the more unique talking points and things we're going to have to really, we as, talking heads, literally on this screen, are going to be talking about, because this is just fodder for us.
Yeah.
Because it is this we're doing it for attention kind of thing? Because I don't think the college football playoff rankings need to do anything for attention. They're going to get attention no matter what, right?
You would think.
Now, that being said,
let me ask you this, because I don't know where you were getting ready to go, but I want to ask you this. Where is the cutoff between teams that have that have a viable path to the Final Four and teams that don't? And that's kind of what I was thinking.
Technically, though, I guess 12 right now, UCLA, but UCLA would just be an addendum to that top 8, because UCLA can play its way in.
So the top 8 and UCLA.
Yes.
Because Alabama's out.
Alabama's done.
Clemson's out.
Unless everything in the world goes wrong for everybody ahead of them. Yes. Ole Miss is out because they can't get to Atlanta. And how unfortunate is that necessarily for Ole Miss? They're sitting there, going, man, that, especially if they win this week.
What does winning this week do for them, though? They're beating a 2-loss Alabama team, right?
I'm just saying, well, I mean, it keeps them at 1 loss for the end of the year, and you're just kind of frustrated at the end of the year, because then you're in a New Year's 6 conversation with if Tennessee doesn't get into the top 4, you don't get into the New Year's 6 probably because of Tennessee, and that's unfortunate for you.
And didn't get a chance to play them. Yeah,
and didn't get a chance to play the 2 teams. So it's like, man, that's kind of frustrating if you're an Ole Miss fan. And again, it's not always how many you lose; it's who you lose them to. If you're LSU and Ole Miss. So,
but again, as we've said at times about Tennessee this season, I think Ole Miss kind of has to objectively feel the same way. I mean, the fact that they are not in contention for the CFP, doesn't really take away from what they've been able to accomplish at this point. They're having a heck of a season.
No, they're having a great season, and coupled with last year's New Year's 6, appearance, you got to feel pretty good if you are Ole Miss, and you got to feel pretty good if you're Lane Kiffin. And that's why Lane Kiffin's not going anywhere. Why in the world would you leave a place you've gone to potentially 2 New Year's 6 bowls to go to Auburn? Not happening. Don't care how much money they throw at me. But, as we talk about this committee's inconsistency, we talk about TCU, Oregon sitting at 6, USC at 8, and UCLA at 12. I had this conversation on Twitter yesterday. I quote tweeted a guy who asked a question. The question was, how much sense does it make that USC sits at 8 and UCLA at 12 when UCLA has a win over the team that beat USC? UCLA has 2 top 25 wins. USC has 0, and USC's yards per play defense is 118th in the country. What I'm telling you is that helmet bias is real. If Alabama were Tennessee and they had gotten beaten 28-13 or 27-13 on Saturday, they'd be number 4.
Ahead of TCU?
Well, they were ahead of TCU last week.
Well,
If they, that's what I'm saying. Helmet bias is real. USC, and I said this, what did I say? I said this on Monday. The best chance the Pac-12 has is USC. Period. UCLA has 3,000 fans at their games. They almost lost to South Alabama. They're not going to be in the top 10 unless they beat both Oregon and USC.
Even with everything that you just mentioned.
Correct. Because helmet bias matters. The name on the front of the jersey matters in the CFP. And that's part of the human element that you get with a committee. And I'm not saying that I hate it. I think it's unfortunate for some teams. But I also think that more times than not, you get the 4 best teams versus the 4 best computer ranked teams. Because eye test does matter.
And that's why, as you said, this is talking season fodder more than anything else, because you feel like by the time we get to the end of the season, this is all going to shake out, and you're going to have the 4 teams that are most worthy of playing for a national championship, you feel like. And again, as you look at that top 5 right there,
the issue
if you're a UT fan, there's very little for you to realistically worry about as long as you take care of your business.
Well, the Pac-12 is a problem because those 3, the Oregon, USC, UCLA, all play each other. Whether it be in the Pac-12 championship game, if 2 of those 3, get to the championship game, and obviously one's got to win it, and you've got a Pac-12 1-loss champion, you've got TCU who's undefeated and a champion, you're hard-pressed to get in if you're Tennessee at that point. Because no matter what, even if it's Oregon, who lost by 43 points to Georgia in the season opener, and apparently Reese Davis thinks that those 2 are somehow equal, it would be really hard for this committee to keep out the Pac-12 champion, I think. Now, if it's Oregon, there's a lot of drama. If it's USC or UCLA, they're in, I think. And they'll get absolutely pummeled in the Peach Bowl.
Well, stay tuned, I reckon.
Anything else that just kind of jumps out at you? North Carolina has just kept winning.
And ditto for you, for Tulane. I'm loving seeing Tulane at number 17 out of the AAC. I just think that's
if this were 2 years from now, they'd be in the playoff. and here's the thing about that. And I think they've got UCF this week. It's a top 25 matchup. The one thing I hate about the 12-team playoff, and if there was a 12-team playoff this year, it would be very interesting. But the one thing I hate about it is that the group of 5 team, I believe, should be the 8 seed no matter what, unless they're higher, 8 or higher. I think they should get to host the first-round playoff game. If you put them at 12, that's fine. But I think they should get to host the first-round playoff game no matter what.
I think that's that should be part of the perks of being a group of 5 team that gets in. I mean, if you were expanding the field, but you're going to make them go to Ohio State or Michigan or something like that right off the rip, then I don't know necessarily how much you're doing for them.
Exactly. It should.
So I mean, I can see that
it should be on campus. Now that's the only thing, but I would like to see a 12-team field here. I don't think the rankings would be quite the same if there were.
I don't think they would either if this was for a 12-team playoff.
No, I mean I don't think you would see, 5 SEC teams in a 12-team playoff. Despite how all 5 of them right now probably deserve to be in it.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. No matter how deserving all 5 may be, I don't think you would see 5. Yeah. Yeah.
So
that might be a little much. But you're also looking at what? You're looking at 3 Pac-12 teams. And which is least deserving, 5 SEC or 3 Pac-12?
I don't know. I mean, based off what I've seen, it's hard to tell. I mean, the Pac-12 has not won any meaningful out-of-conference games. Mm-hmm. Utah lost to Florida. UCLA, has not won anything outside of the conference that makes you feel excited. USC's got to play Notre Dame, but crap, we've seen Notre Dame be really bad. So
you're asking USC to do what Stanford and Marshall have already done this year.
correct.
Yeah.
So no, it just, I mean, the Pac-12 just seems like, your out of conference schedule doesn't really excite me if I am, matter of fact, I've got it right here, the Collie rankings. The Pac-12 is 25-9 out of conference. They're 0-3 against the SEC, 0-2 against the Big 12, 2-1 against the Big 10. So and they have not played anybody in the ACC yet. So in Power 5, they are 2-6 against Power 5 teams.
So there you go.
Anyway, just throwing that out there. The SEC, meanwhile, is 7-4 against Power 5 teams. So. Of course, one of those losses is Auburn to Penn State. So there's that. But anyway.
Do losses that you incurred under a coach who is no longer in place count?
Right. They probably shouldn't. Anyway, such is life. Top 4 is what it is. Tennessee's probably getting in. I don't think TCU goes undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tennessee probably gets in. And I also think that the Pac-12 champion is going to get in.
That's it. I think you're looking at Georgia.
One of those
unless they lose to LSU, and I don't think they are. So I think you're looking at Georgia. You're looking at Ohio State, Michigan, one of them. You're looking at Tennessee, and you're looking at the Pac-12 champ.
In that order.
Yeah. It'll be in that order, which would
I hope it's Oregon. I hope Oregon has to come back to the Georgia Dome.
Oh, God.
To play Georgia. Your season started here, and it ended here. Congratulations.
Yeah, I don't know how you can really twist that around for it to be anything else. Because you're not going to have Georgia and Tennessee play each other.
No, that's it. It's that order. You're 100%. You
and Oregon. Yeah, I mean that's it. It's got to either be Georgia, Oregon, or Georgia, Tennessee. Because Georgia and Ohio and that Ohio State, Michigan winner are going to be 1-2.
Yep. That's it.
Wow.
I don't think we really have time to take a quick break here. I would like to talk a little bit about TSSAA rankings, or not rankings, alignment, as we got word yesterday of that. And kudos to the TSSAA for dealing with all this, because it's not easy.
Well, I will say this: it's probably easier for them than it is for us, because they probably have some computer
visuals
stuff. They've got Bradley Lambert, who can do some stuff that is clearly beyond our capabilities. But I feel like for us in particular here locally, I think Columbia Central and Spring Hill really made out, as we talked yesterday, about as well as they could have, because in football, basically what they did was reestablish old District 8 AAA with Columbia Central, Franklin County, Lawrence County, Lincoln County, Shelbyville, and Tullahoma, and then they pulled Spring Hill in. So I think from a competitive standpoint, obviously those Columbia Central and Spring Hill no longer have to deal with Nolensville and Page. And I think they would tell you that that's a good thing. So
how about Region 7 5A?
Now
let's just talk about this one.
Okay, hang on. Let me try to get that one in front of me.
Beach, Hendersonville, Henry County, Springfield, Portland, and Hunters Lane.
Okay. Now what?
Jesus.
What are you saying from a competitive standpoint?
I feel real bad for Hunters Lane in Portland. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
because those other four, I mean, over the last few years, Springfield has been really good, and then Beach, Hendersonville, and Henry County are seemingly, as good as it gets. In Class 5A, Hendersonville moving back down from 6A.
Beach coming back down.
Beach too.
Yeah.
Beach and Hendersonville both moving down, and you go, oh man, that's brutal.
Yeah, yep. That's a meat grinder.
That may be the toughest region in 5A. I don't think there's any question about that. Maybe Central, West, and Powell, but that's a 5-team region. So you only, you just got to not be 5th to get in.
Yeah, and then once you get in, you take your chances. Yeah. So,
but yeah, that's crazy, man.
I was really kind of taken aback by the new 5-2A region that includes East Hickman, Harpeth.
Right?
Yeah. You've got East Hickman, Harpeth, Hickman County, Lewis County, Loretto, Mount Pleasant, Summertown, and Waverly. So that's an 8-team district region there.
And Loretto to Harpeth ain't an easy trip. I don't even know if you can get there from there.
Yeah, Loretto to Waverly ain't going to be a whole lot of fun either, really. So,
I mean, well, Waverly is even kind of, Harpeth is at least straight north. Waverly's out random west team. They're kind of out on an island in that one.
Yeah.
Kind of like Dixon County in that Clarksville region.
Well, Waverly, Henry County, and kind of Dixon County are kind of in the same predicament in and Henry County have both kind of had the same problem in that they have played across the river, as they like to say, the Tennessee River that delineates West Tennessee from Middle Tennessee. Waverly, being in Humphreys County on this side of the river, has played west on occasions. Obviously, Henry County, being on the west side of the Tennessee River, has played east and is doing so again this time. They've typically played into Clarksville, but they're kind of up there in no man's land in terms of size. There's nobody else close to them that is their size. So
well, and the other side of that, that playoff bracket, Region 6 is also an 8-team region with Adamsville, Camden, Riverside, Huntingdon, Milan, Peabody, Jackson, Central Mary. There's nowhere else you can go because 7 and 8 are all Memphis schools.
Right.
So you had to take it was either that or you were going to have to put Mount Pleasant, Loretto, or Summertown. You were going to have to split those up and send another one to Region 4 and go east all the way to potentially Marion County, where Fayetteville is going to have to Fayetteville and Forest have to go all the way to Marion County for a game and for a region contest.
Fayetteville to Marion County probably isn't necessarily that bad because they can just go across 64, I think. But
it's still a long way.
But that Forest Marion County is that's tough.
Yeah. Fayetteville in 2A. That's probably where they need to be.
For just a second, because you've got a couple of 4-team districts. You got 3 4-team districts in Region 5A and then in Region 5-2A. Region 5A, District 10, Culleoka, Hampshire, Richland, and Santa Fe are District 10A.
So
everybody goes to the region.
The Murray County district there.
Congrats, y'all. All of y'all are going to district. In 5-2A, District 9 is Cannon County, Cascade Forest, and Community. District 10 district, you got plenty of non-district games to go out and get.
Well, 11 and 12
you
are
got
the same
plenty
thing.
of
11 and 12, same thing.
It's kind of odd to see so many 4-team districts to me.
Matter of fact, Mo, District 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12
Are all 4-team districts?
4-team districts in Class 2A. This is why you can't have 4 classes unless you split them up with a different number of schools in each class. Justin, did I lose him or did he lose me?
You're good. I think we're having a little bit of connection issues with Mo.
Issues with Mo? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
This is what I was saying is this is why you can't. This is why if you're going to have 4 classes, you're going to have a small 1A, a small 4A, and 2 big 2 and 3s.
Yeah, because the 4s in particular are probably closer together, geographically speaking. So it's it has created some interesting groupings, I guess. And again, in 4A, District 9 4A, it's Coffee County, Columbia Central, Lincoln County, Shelbyville,
Spring Hill and Warren County, the other 2 there. So.
And I guess you can schedule around that for those games to be on Fridays, maybe, but still. And District 9 4A will match up with District 10 4A, which is an all Williamson County district with Brentwood, Centennial, Franklin, Independence, Nolensville, Page, Ravenwood, and Summit. 8-team district there. So that'll be fun come region time.
Yeah, so long as the region tournament isn't in McMinnville. If it is, I quit. Oh, man. Well, let's take a short break here, Justin. And when we come back, we'll get to Heather Williams, talk a little NASCAR on the other side of the break. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, returns after this.
This holiday season, the largest lantern event in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. After sunset, come see more than 1,000 Chinese lanterns. All new designs including mythical beasts, a fantastical North Pole village, even a dragon soaring over your head. Welcome back to Zoo Illumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mo Patton and Chris Yao here on this Wednesday as we get you caught up on the happenings from the weekend in NASCAR. We are joined by Heather Williams, who is joining us via telephone today. Heather, how are you?
I'm good. Just running around doing some National Signing Day coverage. So,
well, we hate that.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to mention that I covered the signing of ETSU head basketball coach Desmond Oliver, former UT assistant's son, Dante. In an upset decision, he is going to ETSU.
Oh!
Great recruiting job by Coach Oliver, huh?
Yeah, well, apparently, according to Dante, he was originally not going to go play for his dad, and he said the assistant coaches talked him into it. So, great recruiting job by his assistant coaches, apparently.
That's interesting. Well, Heather, we hate that we don't actually get to see you, but after the events of Sunday night and last week's events, it might be best that we can't. So,
I mean, I didn't harass you one time this week, Mo, about the game. I was well behaved.
you were well behaved, but I think that had to do with the fact that it was 17-9 for the longest as well. So, at any rate,
that's fair.
Yeah,
That's definitely fair.
Phoenix, relative to what you anticipated.
I mean, yes, Joey Logano was probably the pejorative favorite going into the weekend. I mean, he was the guy that had the most time to prepare. He's got the most experience. He's the oldest guy of the group, the ripe old, I believe, 32 years old. So, yes, I mean, I think that it was a tough weekend. I would have liked to have seen if Christopher Bell could have given a little more to the situation had not the horrible events happened with his team's co-owner dying the night before the championship race. Because I just don't feel like that Joe Gibbs team was really, any of those teams were really all into it. And how could you be after that happened? So, that was the only, awful part of the weekend was, that happening and the kind of the effect it had on the championships, a much lower secondary part of that. But yeah, as far as the racing went, that's pretty much how I expected the race to go. Chase Elliott hasn't been good all playoffs. He really wasn't that great this weekend. And the other three guys battled it out for the championship.
It was an unfortunate situation with Ross and Chase in the middle of the race. Chase Elliott pretty well knocked out by on a restart when Ross Chastain got into his right rear or left rear. But, a lot of folks will say Chase wrecked Chase, and I'd be one of those.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think Chase was pushing because, as I mentioned, he hasn't run that well. I don't think that the Chase Elliott that showed up to Nashville and that team and the way they were running feels that part in that early in the race that he has to make that move, right? I think they're running with more confidence. He probably feels like he could chase people down, that he doesn't have to get a bunch of spots on the restart. But because they haven't run well, he pushed the issue because he felt like that was his only chance to get a win. And, that's what happens sometimes. I don't think that Chase really did anything wrong. He did what he had to do. Just didn't work out for him.
Now, it really didn't matter, but the cold hard truth is that the guy who won the race on Sunday should not have won the race. His teammate sat behind him and was going to play blocker had Ross Chastain had any opportunity to get close. But that's kind of the world we live in NASCAR in this championship race, isn't it?
Maybe, but I don't know if I believe that. I mean, I don't know that Ross was in the position to be able to chase those two down. Yeah, Ross wasn't in a position to chase those two down. And you don't think Ryan Blaney, who hasn't won all year, wouldn't have wanted to win the race? And if he wins the race and Joey Logano finishes second, Joey's still the champion. And then the captain gets a win from all three of his teams and the championship. So I don't necessarily think that he had the car to pass him.
I don't know. He was up front the whole day. He didn't try, not real hard.
Logano won both stages and the pole.
I know. I'm just saying he didn't try real hard.
I don't see it. If Ross was a little bit closer and really had a chance to run those two down, then maybe I might understand that argument. But I just can't believe for a second that Ryan Blaney didn't want to get a win, and that the captain didn't want him to get a win for everything that means for that team, especially when, as far as Joey Logano's concerned, first and second pay exactly the same.
I don't know. It just felt like the last 4 laps of that race were pretty ho hum, and it may have just been because Joey was that much better, but I don't know.
I mean, I might, like I said, I might be able to bite if Ross was faster and was running them down, and or Blaney had won one of the stages or sat on the pole or at some point shown that he had a superior car to Logano. But I didn't see that all race.
All right.
I mean, that's my opinion. I respect yours. You're not the only person I've heard say that. So,
outside of the championship 4 that were in the race, Phoenix just didn't really feel like it had a lot of excitement. And
well, the short tracks have struggled all year, right?
And that was going to be my question is that with this next gen car, is that going to be a point of discussion going forward of, where they finish the season?
Oh, I don't know. They're not going to change the schedule, but there's going to be a huge emphasis on improving this next gen car on the short tracks. They already started it. They had some testing over the summer and made some changes to the car prior to Martinsville. And it has improved. The short track races have gotten marginally better in the second half of the season. But there's been all sorts of talk, including maybe even going back to having a slightly different car for the short tracks, which, by the way, completely washes out the reason to have this next gen car, because it's supposed to be a car you can run on all different types of tracks. But they're going to have to do something, and they know that, and they've been making some movement towards trying to improve the short track programs. They definitely want to end this, and Phoenix isn't an all the way short track. It's not Bristol, it's not Martinsville, but it's a shorter track, and that's what the fans really like. And I think that NASCAR really wants to end on that sort of track because it's the most popular types of tracks that they go to. And as far as weather goes, Phoenix has got to be the one. I mean, it just has to be when you're racing in November.
Pretty well paramount at that point.
Yes.
I mean, if you want people to come to your race anyway.
Well, Martinsville was not awful, but I've been in some Martinsville races, which is, second to the last, third to the last, somewhere around in there each year. I have been to some Martinsville races that have been downright miserable. Like, I'm just like, why do I do this to myself? Because it's not fun.
I don't really have a whole lot outside of, this last race, but do you feel like obviously another Ford caught on fire? So there's that. What does that mean for this for this next gen car?
The next gen has been a mystery wrapped in an enigma, I think is the phrase. It's had some really good, strong points and has done a lot of the things that they wanted it to do. It's cut costs. It's increased competition. We had 19 different winners this year. If in your mind, they probably should have been 20, right? Because Ryan Blaney could have won. But it's done a lot of good things, but it's got a long way to go. Safety, as far as the hits, which they're looking into, the fires, competition level and finding more consistency. It was basically, as far as competition goes, the exact opposite of the Gen 6 car, where that it put on great shows on the intermediate tracks and the road courses and terrible shows on the short tracks. So they've got to find a little balance in it as far as that goes. It's going to be a busy off season for R&D for NASCAR to try to get these cars, because they have a very small window to do that, because teams have already started prepping for next year. And ordering parts and inventory and that kind of thing. So they're going to have to figure that out probably within the next month or two to start getting ready for the Clash and then Daytona. And I think NASCAR, next year is their 75th anniversary. So they really want to get all this behind them, because the last thing they want to do in the middle of this year-long celebration is deal with this kind of stuff. So they're going to be working really hard to try to get the next gen up to speed. I don't know if there's enough time to do it, but we'll see.
We will, in fact. Before we let you go, Heather, there was a meeting held last night. I'm dealing with the WASP I keep turning around because I want to make sure it's like not coming after me. It came after me yesterday. There was a meeting held yesterday in Nashville in which a contract and lease was proposed to the city. And it certainly appears that it's just about a done deal that Speedway Motorsports is going to be taking over the Nashville Fairgrounds. And included in that lease is every other year, at least, a NASCAR Cup race at the Nashville Fairgrounds.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And, Speedway Motorsports also owns Nashville. So I think their thought process, the big track in Nashville, the super speedway.
Right.
So I think their thought process is that they can't secure a separate date for the fairgrounds, which I think would be their preferred, is to have 2 dates in Nashville. But if they can't, then they will probably rotate the races back and forth between the fairgrounds and the speedway, which I would like to see Nashville get 2 dates. I think that Nashville deserves 2 dates. They certainly support the sport about as well as any large market that the sport goes to. And I love the fairgrounds. I would like to see them race every year. But it's exciting. It's exciting, not just for Nashville, but for the NASCAR community. I mean, when you talk to the drivers, you cannot find a driver that does not love coming to Nashville to race, that does not love the idea of racing at the fairgrounds. And so the fact that this is actually going to happen now is amazing for the sport. When you've now added Nashville, you've now added North Wilkesboro back into the fold, you're now giving fans, I mean, NASCAR fans love to complain, but I just don't know how you can complain about how the schedule's working out, because you're getting something for the new fans, for the F1 kind of wine and cheese group in the Chicago street race. And then you're getting the old school stuff for the old fans that sit around and say, get off my lawn, I want to go back to North Wilkesboro. Well, guess what? We're back, baby. We're back at North Wilkesboro. So you're getting something for everybody, and it's amazing. I mean, we give NASCAR a lot of guff about the way things go sometimes. And honestly, you've worked in professional sports. I've worked in professional sports for a long time. NASCAR is one of the easier sports to work around when it comes to access, when it comes to, just all sorts of different stuff for the fans, for the media. And so I have to give them kudos here, because they've worked really hard to get this balance of what everybody's asking for in a schedule. And with the addition of the fairgrounds, I mean, they have to hit another home run.
I certainly agree with you 100%. I, for one, am so happy to see both North Wilkesboro and the Nashville Fairgrounds potentially back on the circuit. It really does kind of feel like, the late 80s, mid 90s. Now, I know NASCAR's not been at the fairground since before then, and I guess it was probably 84, 85, something like that, the last time they ran there. And
the Cup Series. The Cup Series.
Yeah.
I'd love to ran there, because Kevin Hart, I think in the truck maybe, or a Xfinity car, but he's the only guy that has.
Right. Well, they
ran there till the 90s, right?
It was said,
wasn't it the 90s?
And this is just me going off of historian Joe Williams, who, if anyone would know, it would be him. It was told to him sometime in the 80s, and I don't know exactly off the top of my head because I don't have it in front of me, that NASCAR's Cup race would never return to Nashville.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I've heard other people say that they were told that.
Never.
Never's a long time.
Never is a heck of a long time, especially when you think about, which, NASCAR at that time was pretty well set, and they could tell folks that back then. But
let me just say this: never is a word you don't want to use very often. The only time I would use it would be in this context, which is never underestimate the power of the Bruton Smith family getting what they want. Beyond that, I would not say never. It's just not. There's too much unpredictability, and especially and beyond the Burton Smith family, never underestimate the power of Dale Sr. or Dale Jr. getting what he wants.
That's
Dale Jr. wanted North Wilkesboro, and Dale Jr. wanted Nashville, and by God, both those things happened.
Yeah, it was 1984 when Joe Williams says he's a 21-year-old director of public relations at Nashville Speedway when the last NASCAR Cup Series race was completed in July. By March of 1985, the two annual events were gone to never return again, we were told. 1984 was the last Cup race held in Nashville. We're going to get another one soon, Heather.
Well, I guess it's going to take probably a year and a half to 2 years to get the improvements in the Host the Coast Cup Series. So I guess never is 2025.
That's what I'm hoping for.
So never is roughly 40 years then.
Yes.
Give or take. Heather, enjoy your trip around East Tennessee covering those high school kids. We appreciate you doing that. We know what it's like and what it means to those kids, and we appreciate your time. We will talk to you very soon.
Yeah, always great to talk to you guys.
All right. Heather Williams, WCYB-TV, joining us here when we return the weirdest and wildest news from across the world and Florida on Wild and Wacky Wednesday right here. Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Time now for the weirdest and wildest news from across the world. It is wild and wacky news. Mo, guess where we start?
I can't imagine.
A 39-year-old St. Petersburg man.
That's not St. Petersburg. That's not St. Petersburg, Russia, is it?
We start in South Florida.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Ish. South Florida. I mean, it's definitely South Florida, because there's a whole university there that's called that.
University of South Florida, yeah.
I mean, it must be South Florida. Definitely not West Florida.
Yeah.
A 39-year-old St. Petersburg man was arrested last week for allegedly making fraudulent requests for tax refunds to the IRS and using the money to lay low. That's right. He laid low after collecting $6.2 million. No, $6.3 million.
Oh,
that's right. And the next day, well, he bought a $2 million mansion and about 6 luxury cars.
It's one way to lay low.
Come on, man. 6 Mercedes-Benz vehicles with a total value of $843,269.32. And, of course, a 6,500 square foot waterfront mansion in St. Petersburg.
That
for
draws no
$2.6
attention.
million. No. I mean, I don't know what are we doing here now? Come on, dude. I mean,
you've done it. You have gamed the system. Congratulations.
Leave.
Yeah.
Leave. Ellie, do you know what leave means? Go.
Take your money and go. Yes.
Go on, take the money and run. I mean, Steve Miller did a whole song about it. Oh, what were you thinking, dude?
Wouldn't.
He submitted 5 claims for tax refunds between August 2019 and February 2020. In total, those claims exceeded $170 million. He falsified his income and withholdings in each of the claims. Now, here's the thing. You got to have a really good CPA in order to do that.
Or you are a really good CPA.
I mean, you either got to be one or you got to know one. And this is because this is impressive. They cut him a $6.3 million check, Mo.
Yeah. The IRS.
There's you would never find me again.
You'd have to look awfully damn hard. I'm not going to be wherever I was.
I mean, Jesus, what are we doing, Matthew? Come on, man. Anyway,
yeah,
Matthew, as smart as he was to get $6.3 million from the government,
he wasn't smart enough.
Not smart enough to leave.
You catch me in. I would say poor Matthew, but no. One, he's not poor, Matthew, but he's a dumb Matthew.
No,
yeah.
Well, he is now.
Well,
he wasn't for a second.
Good point.
So this next story comes from SF Gate, which I thought was not going to be I didn't think this was going to be a Florida man. Turns out it is, in fact, a Florida man. Can't get away from him.
The news just went nationwide. What's that? The San Francisco Chronicle?
I don't know what sfgate.com is necessarily, but yeah. How about this? TSA going through some luggage, little bit of a foul smell, literally. Found some raw chicken inside of luggage at the airport.
Oh.
First of all, that's your first mistake. The second mistake was stuffing a gun inside the raw chicken.
I heard about this.
Yep, they tried to smuggle the gun through TSA inside of a raw chicken. But here's the thing. That's the problem is you've opened yourself up to the TSA here because it's raw chicken. It smells.
That's almost wanting to get caught.
It really is. You just people are crazy, man. People are crazy. So don't smuggle your guns in raw chicken. And if you get 6.3 mil from the government,
get out.
Go somewhere else.
Anywhere else. You got 6.3 mil. That's it.
That is our advice to you. And that is our show for the day. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Tomorrow, we have Belmont women's basketball coach Bart Brooks joining us on Coach's Corner and much more. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. This is Main Street Sports Today. For Justin, back in the studio. Mo, I'm Chris. Have a great day.